Welcome and thank you for tuning in to this July 2025 edition of Sector Pulse Research Roundup, brought to you by Compliance Standards. Now, before we dive in, just a quick note that this presentation is something we typically reserve for clients of our Sector Pulse syndicated service here at Compliance Standards. But given the level of interest we've seen lately from across the ITAD, ESG, and enterprise IT communities, we wanted to offer this edition as a courtesy to friends and colleagues, particularly for those who among you who actually decided to help us go through the latest survey. Thank you again. Now, if you're not a subscriber, think of this as a preview of the kind of field-tested insight that we deliver, right? Grounded in executive interviews, real-world data, and strategic guidance that you can count on. If it resonates, we'd love to have you as a client. Just give us a call, send us an email, send us a text, and we'll be there. This roundup is for the month of July 2025. Now, during the months of May and June, we've conducted more than 36 in-depth interviews with CEOs and senior executives from across the IT asset disposition landscape. We've complemented that with follow-ups from enterprise CISOs, ESG leaders, procurement officers, and hospital CIOs to get sort of a clearer sense of where the industry is headed. And what we're seeing, in short, is this. 2025 isn't a year of noise. It's a year of structural recalibration. We believe the turbulence is fading, though it's unclear how long it will last, but strategic clarity is starting to take a hold. So let me start with the big picture, if I may. Now, after a cautious first quarter where refreshes were delayed and tariff concerns loomed, the second quarter seemed to bring a measurable shift. Enterprises are reinvesting, especially in sectors like healthcare and finance. And that reinvestment is about tightening alignments between various key functions in enterprise IT, now from cybersecurity, ESG, and compliance, all the way to ITAD. In other words, the era of ITAD as a back office, say, cleanup function, well, that's most likely over. Today, it's being embedded in what we think is the governance frameworks with data protection strategies and, yes, board-level ESG disclosures. We've seen a sharp awakening in IT refresh activities. One key reason, well, CIOs are under pressure to keep their fleets AI compatible. They don't want to be caught on, running outdated machines that can't support Copilot and other AI-embedded workflows. But the bigger reason, really, is about risk as usual. The executives that we spoke with made it rather clear. ITAD is now seen as a frontline control for cybersecurity and compliance, not just an end-of-life function or utility. And no sector exemplifies this more than the healthcare sector. So if you're looking to understand where ITAD is currently gaining real traction, watch the hospitals. Healthcare organizations are leading the refresh wave in 2025 that's outpacing even the financial sector. The reasons are clear and multifaceted. Start with data breach risk. The average cost of a breach in healthcare in the United States is nearly $11 million. That's 13 years in a row at the top of the risk list. Add to that, tightening compliance environment, HIPAA, ISO 27001, SOC 2, high trust, and then factor in the forced hardware refresh cycle that's being driven by Windows 11's new security requirements. Suddenly, ITAD becomes a mandated risk control, not just an afterthought. From our interviews with hospital executives, we learned that this is more than just a refresh cycle. It's an infrastructure reset of sort. Cyber insurance underwriters, for example, are demanding documented ITAD procedures, validated sanitization, and proof of certified destruction. Healthcare systems are rapidly building centralized ITAD workflows to manage their scattered fleets, which grew massively, as you know, during the pandemic era. And the surge in telehealth is a big thing, too. The demand, however, isn't just about risk. ESG has become a pressure point as well, even in sectors where it used to be peripherals. Hospitals are now being asked to report on e-waste, carbon impact, device reusability. The ITAD sector there is no longer judged by logistics. Its operators are being evaluated as sustainability partners. In fact, we're now seeing ESG and compliance leaders involved in more than 30% of new ITAD contracts. That's a huge number compared to what it used to be only 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Now, zoom out of the healthcare sector and look at the secondary market as a whole. It's one of the sector's strongest pillars right now, a sector that we've covered in a piece of research that's available to clients. Global demand for refurbished assets is substantially up. It's on fire. Logistics hubs around the world are moving goods efficiently, and buyers in the global south are actually embracing refurbished devices, not out of necessity, but because of rising trusts in the quality and the durability of those devices. In the US, certified refurbished assets are now being integrated into enterprise procurement cycles, not because of budget reasons only, but to meet ESG targets, even if, as you know, the term ESG is used less these days due to political pressures. This brings us to a key point. We found that the firms that are winning aren't just selling refurbished hardware, they're selling trust. They're delivering serialized audit trails, warranty-backed inventory, and ESG-aligned documentation. That shift from product to proof is what's really driving margin, and that's what's helping in the client retention process in 2025. Now, let's talk about differentiation. The most successful ITADs are upgrading their practices in significant ways, including deploying AI and even robotics within their own facilities, therefore boosting productivity and real performance. Serialization times, for example, have dropped from minutes to seconds in leading facilities. Sorting and pricing algorithms are being tuned by AI, and that's translating into faster processing, better data hygiene, and tighter compliance. And our discussions with equipment manufacturers suggest that a lot more of this will happen in the next months and in the years to come for sure. Cybersecurity too has moved from the periphery to the center. Now, clients now vet ITAD providers like they do, let's say, for their security firms that they use. If you're not ISO 27001 certified, or at least moving in that direction, you're already behind. And increasingly, ITAD is being wrapped into clients' internal ISSM programs. That's something that we at Compliance Standards have seen firsthand through our own advisory work. And if you are curious or need any help or assistance, we have a team that specializes in ISSM, and of course, it can be helpful to you. Now, all these opportunity also brings risk. And there are three in particular that I'd like to flag. Number one is the tariff escalation. With tensions high around China and Iran back in the headlines, the cost of logistics and energy could spike again, and it could spike pretty fast. Secondly, ESG fatigue. If companies start treating sustainability like a checkbox rather than a strategy, the credibility of ITAD's value proposition could eventually erode. Thirdly, and perhaps most dangerous, is the rise of risk-blind procurement. What I mean by that is that younger sourcing officers, often under pressure to cut costs, are more likely to choose lower-risk to bid vendors who cut corners, and that's a real threat. It undermines the entire sector's reputation and its value proposition. So this is why we think strategic alignment matters more than ever. In our strategic alignment report that we just published, we laid out 9 imperatives for ITAD CEOs and leaders who want to win, not just survive, what I would call the 2026 divide. Let me highlight a few. Number 1, reframe your value proposition. Stop selling disposal, start selling governance. Start selling risk, start selling compliance enablement. Number 2, treat cybersecurity as core infrastructure. Think of ISO 27001, NAID AAA, and NIST compliance, which aren't optional anymore. They're entry requirements. You have to have them. Number 3, sell to ESG compliance and audit leaders, not just IT. These are the buyers who drive eventually policy and influence budget. Finally, lead on disclosure. Don't wait to be told to publish your ESG matrix. Firms that get ahead of transparency will eventually own the trust narrative and the contracts that come with it. So there's a lot more in the report that we published, including a maturity grid and CEO planning templates. But the message is clear. We are entering a period of what I would call the bifurcation. By mid-2026, we do expect to see a very visible divide between those firms seen as strategic partners and those seen or relegated to transactional vendor status. Very important movement going forward. Now, let me shift to adjacent but critical conversation. What's happening in the PC market these days? One of the most striking development this year has been the contrast between AI PCs and the refurbished systems. Despite the excitement over built-in AI chips and smarter on-device processing, the average consumer, I'm sad to say, is unmoved yet. Sales are sluggish. People aren't convinced that these new systems offer enough real-world value to justify the price tag. And that's forcing traditional PC OEMs to refocus as quickly as possible to become enterprise IT infrastructure vendors. Meanwhile, as I said earlier, the refurbished market is on fire. Small businesses, students, and everyday buyers like myself are choosing refurbished systems for a simple reason. The value is real, the performance is solid, the price is right, and the experience feels smart, not necessarily like a second-hand product that you're dealing with. Platforms like Amazon Renew, Backmarket, and Rebello are segmenting their offerings. We've tracked the data, and we know that there's clearly a low-end, a mid-range, and a premium refurbished product tiers, many with one-year warranties, certified inspections, and strong ESG messaging. Now, this puts ITADs in an interesting bind. On the one hand, they help create the secondary market, right? On the other hand, they're not naturally equipped to dominate it, at least in the vast transactional market where platforms like Amazon and eBay tend to dominate. Selling to consumers requires a different muscle: brand trust, sleek user interface, integrated marketing. Most ITADs just are not equipped or set up for that kind of environment. But if they want it, the opportunity is real, especially through partnerships, through white label channels, or ESG forward branding. Let me shift now to another report that we published, and let's talk about the hyperscalers. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Apple, Meta, NVIDIA, and even Tesla. These companies are not just accounts anymore. They are key players, and they are the infrastructure. They're internalizing their ITAD needs fast. Microsoft has circular centers. Google designs its data center for reuse. Meta manages modular infrastructure end to end. And so for ITAD companies to pick up 500 servers from a hyperscaler data center, that's going to be very difficult. And if you're doing it, well, congratulations, you are far ahead. If you're not doing it, and this is important, these hyperscalers still need help. How? Well, not everywhere. Clearly not everywhere. Not in bulk, but in regions where logistics are complex, where compliance is dense, where local execution matters. That's where the opportunity is. You don't sell volume, you sell capability, you solve what their internal teams can scale to do efficiently. If you're an ITAD leader, that means targeting specific geographies, earning the right certifications, and building the field level reliability. It also means thinking more like a service provider, less like a recycler. Just think of Dell becoming a technology provider as opposed to a PC vendor. Finally, let me talk a moment about a wild card. It's another report that we published on crypto mining. Interesting topic, a topic that is certainly tied to the secondary market in the ITAD space and the technology space. This sector, that is the crypto mining sector, is unpredictable, but its impact on the secondary market is enormous. Our research found that during bull runs, crypto miners hoard GPUs, rack servers, power gear, driving up prices and draining inventory. During busts, they flood the market with used gear, some of it abused and some of it obviously dangerous to resale. So ITAD firms should tread very carefully. There is money here, but it comes with risk, ESG backlash, compliance questions, even reputational damage if your gear ends up in illegal or unsustainable mining farms. If you're going to play in that space, separate it, disclose it, track it, and never let it compromise your core business, or else you'll be in trouble. So where does all of this leave us? We are in a market that's being shaped by what I would consider as friction by the places where OEMs, hyperscalers, and end users tend to hit the walls. And the firms that can quietly, efficiently, incredibly solve those problems, well, they will own the next decade of ITAD. At Compliance Standards, our syndicated research is built for action. If you found this discussion and research useful and want to go deeper, we offer a full pulse service for ITAD executives looking to align strategy, uncover market blind spots. Why not win business where others are missing? Schedule a briefing, send me an email, ask for a custom sector scan if you want, just join the next roundtable. This is where insight meets execution. Thank you for being part of this discussion. And until our next one, talk soon.